Hey there guys, how's it going? So yeah, some pretty interesting news came out yesterday and I figured I'd talk about it. So as I covered in a video a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the fact that Jamie Oliver, and thanks to his constant scaremongering and propaganda pushing involving the food industry, constantly telling us we shouldn't eat sugar, we shouldn't eat this, we shouldn't eat that, trying to impose his worldview on us through propaganda and fear-mongering. As a result of that, the government in the UK introduced a sugar tax, and what the sugar tax basically means is they put higher taxes on any products that contain sugar. And as a result of that, many of these sugary drinks companies and confectionery companies and whatnot actually removed the majority of the sugar from their products and replaced it with artificial, man made sweeteners that don't have to abide by this same sugar tax. This, of course, led to these products tasting like absolute piss. I mean, Irn Bru, that used to be the single greatest accomplishment of mankind, the greatest invention known to our species, the absolute nectar of this country, the sweetest, tastiest, and most satisfying drink of all time. It now tastes like liquefied HIV. It is flipping disgusting. Thanks to these artificial sweeteners and man-made substances that they use to replace the sugar, which, by the way, there's a lot of information out there and there's a lot of conflict and debate out there as to whether or not these things are more dangerous for your health than sugar. I mean, there's a lot of information out there you can look at, and I'll maybe leave some links in the description section. But substances like aspartame, for example, which is a man-made artificial sweetener that they use to replace sugar. There's a lot of studies that show that aspartame is linked to cancer increases and stuff like that. So, I mean, removing sugar, which is a natural substance, which is a substance that in moderation isn't really going to do you any harm, and replacing it with these man-made artificial sweeteners that haven't even been properly trialed and are actually banned in several countries, I find it to be very disingenuous and I find it to be very sinister. Now, I mentioned in the Jamie Oliver video about how Jamie Oliver got woke and quite promptly went broke because thanks to all his fear-mongering and all his propaganda and all his trying to, be an authoritarian puppet master and tell us all what we can and can't eat and, hanging around schools, which he does quite a lot, by the way. I mean, I find it very creepy the amount of time that Jamie Oliver spends hanging around schools telling kids what to eat and shit. And but thanks to all that, Jamie Oliver's restaurant chain, and I mentioned this in the previous video, his restaurant chain, Jamie's Italian, went into administration, went broke, and yeah, thanks to all his virtue signaling nonsense, his business went under. Well, that phrase "get woke, go broke," which has gone viral over the past couple of years. We know that companies like Gillette, for example, and so many others have absolutely just alienated their entire customer and fan base thanks to their political nonsense that they keep putting in their advertisement and branding. Well, the same thing has happened to Irn Bru because those of you who have been paying attention to this will know Irn Bru sales absolutely tanked ever since the sugar tax. Ever since they reformulated it and took away the sugar and made it taste like piss, their sales absolutely plummeted. It's like it's like when they release a movie at the cinema and nobody goes to see it. It's like that, but with Irn Bru. It's an absolute box office flop. Every single time I go into the supermarket or I go into a shop and I see Irn Bru on the shelves, I don't think I've seen somebody buy an Irn Bru bottle for a long time. They're stacking up on the shelves. They can't even give them away. Like I was in a shop the other day. I was in a co-op and it was one of their big bottles going for like 70 pence reduced because people are not buying it because it's flipping disgusting. I mean, Irn Bru literally went from being the highest selling drink in this country. By the way, in Scotland, Irn Bru is the only drink to outsell Coca-Cola in any country. And it happened right here in Scotland. It became our national drink, and it used to be an absolute gold mine, but now, ever since, a couple of years of this sugar tax, the sales have absolute tanked. It's been boycotted. Nobody wants it. And bars had been in denial for quite a while. I remember several months ago they tried to claim that the reason why they it's so funny, this man, like they tried to claim that the reason why their sales tanked was to do with the weather, something to do with, oh, people don't buy Irn Bru in this weather, or some nonsense like that. They were coming up with all these ridiculous, scraping the bottom of the barrel for theories and ideas as to why their sales tanked, because they just didn't want to admit that the drink is disgusting. They didn't want to admit that by taking away the sugar, you've ruined your product. All right. Well, it seems like they've admitted defeat now, because what they are now planning to do is, over the course of the Christmas period, bars have decided to re-release the original Irn Bru recipe from 1901 for a limited amount of time over Christmas. And I guarantee you, and remember I said this, their sales are going to go through the roof. Thanks to bringing back the old recipe, they are going to get back that money that they've been losing over the Christmas period. And I guarantee you that this is something they're going to do every year now in order to get money, because their woke nonsense of going through with Jamie Oliver's anti-sugar brigade, his anti-sugar propaganda, going through with that and trying to force this artificial nonsense down our throats. That lost them business. They got woke and they went broke. And now they've had to go back to their original recipe to save their skin, to save their business and their workforce and their factories, because they were damn near close to going out of business. And let me tell you guys a little story about Irn Bru. Now, Irn Bru, a lot of you guys outside of the UK and particularly outside of Scotland won't understand this, but Irn Bru is amazing. Like I'm talking the original Irn Bru, the original recipe, not only for the way it tastes, but its medicinal qualities. Now, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, so I can't tell you the exact scientific breakdown for why this is, but Irn Bru is like medicine. I'm not even kidding. It heals so many ailments. I mean, I used to get pretty bad headaches. In fact, I still do get pretty bad headaches. I mean, I don't know whether this is because of head trauma that I suffered as a kid, or injuries and stuff like that, or maybe it's just some sort of health problem that I have. I mean, I do have some health problems, but for whatever reason, I get really, really bad headaches. And I remember sometimes, when I would be on my way to the gym or something, and I would be like, I can't do this because my head is just absolutely ringing. And every time I'd be in a car journey or something, I would just, for whatever reason, I would end up with a real horrible sore head. And it's something that, it's just something that every now and then pops back up, and it causes me a lot of problems. These headaches that I get, migraines or whatever, they just, it's just an issue of mine. The one thing that used to make these headaches go away, and again, I'm not a scientist, I don't know how to explain this from a scientific point of view, but the one thing that used to make my headaches disappear immediately was Irn Bru. I have no idea why, but for whatever reason, Irn Bru used to cure my headaches immediately. Like, I used to actually drink it before going to the gym. Like, say if I was sparring in the boxing gym or whatever, I used to drink a can of Irn Bru before I go in, because it used to settle me, it used to calm my nerves a little bit, and it used to just stop me from getting really splitting headaches. Not only that, but Irn Bru is the absolute perfect hangover cure. Anybody who has been hungover, who has used Irn Bru the morning after, it is the absolute perfect cure. Like, if you could have the worst hangover ever, one can of Irn Bru would cure it. And I'm not just saying that, okay? Anybody who has tried it can contest to that. It is the perfect hangover cure. It's just one of them drinks that it used to have so many qualities outside of the way it tasted. I remember when I first moved to the East Midlands, because I was born in Glasgow, and I grew up in the East Midlands. I moved down there when I was very young, and I used to get terribly homesick. I used to get really, really badly homesick, and the only thing that used to cure that homesickness was Irn Bru. I used to save up for it, and It was so good for me. It really was. And man, it just I get so emotional. I'm almost tearing up when I think about how sad I was when they removed the recipe. I mean, there are no words, there are no words in the tongues of men to describe the outrage, the tragedy of them taking away the original Irn Bru recipe and ruining it the way they did. So I'm very glad and very emotional that they're going to be bringing it back over the Christmas period. It better be legit. This better be the real original recipe. They better not just be telling us that or having it some sort of placebo. No, it better be the real recipe. And yeah, I just gotta say, man, stop getting woke. To all these companies out there, stop listening to people like Jamie Oliver, these flipping idiots, these clowns who want to force their worldview on the rest of us. You know, I mean, he's telling us all to go vegan now, and he's trying to say that school dinners should remove meat options from the menu. This prick Jamie Oliver, like, somebody needs to tell this guy to do one. I'm not even kidding. This guy needs to get off TV. He needs to get out of politics. The media needs to just ignore this guy and people like him and tell him to get lost, because I am sick and tired of celebrities telling us how to live our lives. If I want to drink a can of Irn Bru, I can have a can of Irn Bru. If I want to have a 2-for-1 pizza deal at the Chippy and supplemented with a nice glass bottle of Irn Bru, I can do that, okay? Jamie Oliver telling me I'm not allowed a 2-for-1 deal at the Chippy just because he has some sort of a problem with obesity. I'm not obese. I can eat whatever I want. Okay, it's not my fault that there are fat people out there, greedy, gluttonous pigs out there that can't control what they eat. That's not my fault. It's not my responsibility. So don't ruin my eating habits and the things that I want to eat and the way I want to live my life to accommodate those pigs. Okay, that is not to do with me. It's nothing to do with me. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting emotional in this video. Damn right, I'm getting angry because people like Jamie Oliver, these authoritarian, nanny state, propaganda pushing scum, really get on my nerves. They really do. So yeah, this video, it's gone on a little bit too long, but thank you, bars, for bringing back the original recipe over the Christmas period. Now, when the sales go through the roof, what I want you guys to do is get rid of the new recipe, right? The aspartame filled, sugarless piss that you've been selling over the past couple of years. Get rid of that and replace it with the original recipe all year round. That's what you should do. Bring back the original Irn Bru, and I will forgive you. I, your number one customer, who has probably drank more Irn Bru than anyone else in history, I will forgive you if you bring back the original recipe all year round. So yeah, thanks for watching and God bless. And remember, don't go woke because you'll get broke.